Sabrina 70s comic, issue 46. Sabrina tells Salem that once again she's in trouble with Della for not being evil. Salem thinks that he's the mischievous one. No wonder he tried to take over the world in the backstory of the 90s show. He thinks that us animal witches never seem to have that kind of trouble. Wait, so he is a witch? He needed a magic pill last time, and he thought he only had magic because he hung around witches too much. Did the story where Salem had no powers of his own take place in a parallel universe? As in wasn't canon? He turns a barking dog into a frog, and Della shows up and congratulates Salem. She explains that the reason Sabrina hadn't seen that was because she was too busy daydreaming about being good, even though she should have heard the dog barking and then it not barking. Why is Della still... When's the last time she helped someone with her magic? Other than making Harvey a witch one time, which caused nothing but trouble. Apparently, Sabrina's helped out people with magic a lot off-screen. Because recently, I've seen her do nothing but use magic in a way she'd approve of. Della makes a fire hydrant flow, and then Salem makes it aim at Della, who blames it on Sabrina and gets mad at her anyways. But she's not a threat because the head witch doesn't punish her for this. The matriarch of Sabrina's family in the sitcom is more threatening than Della. Sabrina's happy about Salem doing that as he purrs in her arms, and she just guesses that he did it instead of hearing his thoughts and therefore his spell. So they've spontaneously changed the rules again, and now she can't understand what he's thinking. Maybe she can only understand him when he's meowing. Then some bank robbers run out of the bank, and one of them grabs Sabrina as a hostage and puts her in the car. Since when do they do that? That's creative. She's told she might see another birthday if she stays calm, and I like her confidently saying, "Why, mister, I expect to see several thousand birthdays." It's confusing that while she's saying her spell, the only one looking at her is the one right beside her. No one else is paying attention to her and is just smiling. So can they hear her when she's saying spells or not? She turns into a dragon and they beg for their lives, and it turns out she looks like herself again when the cops show up. Della's mad at Sabrina anyways because she got the Good Citizens Award, even though she still tormented people. And true goody two-shoes would be like, tormenting anyone is evil. How does Salem think that someday Sabrina is going to be head witch when she's infamous among witches and nothing like Della? Why did Della have to exist? She doesn't contribute anything positive at all. It did a lot to show how much he likes Sabrina though. That he actually sided with her. In the next story, Sabrina says she's gonna help her school football team win. And it's so ironic that Hilda's saying Della would get mad at her for trying to perform a good deed, when what she's gonna do is earn them an illegitimate victory. Which is evil. But not evil enough apparently. Because she hears some people wanting tickets on the 40-yard line, she somehow thinks it's a good idea to warp two random people to the football field and get them attacked by some drilling football player, which gets them injured. Sabrina's still smiling in the next panel though, when if she was really as nice as Della thinks, she'd be feeling guilty and trying to make it up to them all story. Instead, she just smiles at seeing that, go figure, there's a big crowd in the game today. Someone wishes that their team had a mascot. Because their team's called the Crimson Cyclone, they panic at seeing a red cyclone. Doesn't Sabrina realize what a mascot is? It'd be a person wearing a costume. The story would make sense if Hilda was the protagonist, but it's still interesting to see. Sabrina thinks it's a coincidence that the cheerleaders on stretchers look like the one she tried to help seconds ago. Really? Harvey gets put in, and Sabrina wants to see to it that conditions would be ideal for a draw play. And naturally, either she doesn't know what that is, like I don't, or her imagination ran wild just at hearing draw play. Because Harvey ends up dressed like an artist trying to draw. These things appeared to him in front of everyone in the stadium. A lot of people's memories would have to be erased. Sabrina sees that the coach is mad, and rather than erasing his memory of what happened to get him to calm down, she wishes that she could stop that clock. But instead of stopping the clock, she casts a spell so that the coach goes into a trance and heads for the game clock and yanks the clock hands off. I couldn't help but giggle here. The coach is like, "Good grief, what have I done?" And Sabrina somehow is like, I feel a nice warm glow when I help people. And while Hilda's worried that Sabrina's goodness got her in trouble, Della shakes her hand because she followed Sabrina to the football game and saw everything. I wish I knew how few witches lived on Earth, because there can't be that many if the head witch herself had the time to do this. And at least this is unique. No other series would have the heroic protagonist's parental figure be congratulated on how troublesome her kid is. In the next story, Hilda tries to do karate. I guess she's trying to prove she's better at it than Harvey would be. Even though Harvey tried to learn from a self-defense book, I guess he didn't get to see this stereotypical karate uniform, not even on TV, because he thinks it's Hilda's pajamas instead. Hilda wants to defend herself from any attackers, and Harvey asks an amusement who could possibly threaten her. A helpless dog? If everyone forgets that Hilda uses magic in front of them, then it's better for her to use magic. But if that's not the case somehow, then it'd be much better for her to learn a normal mortal way of defending herself that doesn't attract as much attention. The comic has no chance of losing Masquerade, but sometimes it pretends otherwise. Hilda gouts Harvey, trying to get him to try to lunge at her. Eventually he grabs her and slams her into the floor holding her arm. You'd think this was them working his grudge against her out. But he hopes he hasn't hurt her right away and asks if she's okay. Well, he doesn't want any consequences from Sabrina, or her. Doesn't mean he didn't want to hurt her. I'm glad he wasn't given the chance to say, you're a girl, so I can't bite you. So instead I can pretend he didn't want to hurt her because it'd be wrong. Predictably, Hilda can't resist the urge to cheat with her magic after that. So she points at him and causes a flying hand to whack him a bunch. Sabrina makes it stop and he calls out Uncle. So did he assume the person hitting him from behind was Sabrina? Who else would he think it was? That was some great slapstick. The next story is about Harvey giving Sabrina a little dog he bought for her that she finds adorable, and so I wonder why Sabrina gave up that magical puppy that Della herself gave to her. Maybe it was always intended to be temporary. I guess the puppy's only going to be in one story. Most precious gift I've ever received, yeah right. She likes Harvey more than Della, so of course she'd prefer it. Of course Sabrina is the one allowed to name it. Why was she asking for its name? At least this shows her soft side. Better than ever. Is Della gonna get mad at her for it? Because she never got mad at her for being nice to Salem. She calls him Sunshine, and Harvey offers to get her the tape of You Are the Sunshine of My Life, which seems cheesy predictable of him. She calls him Terrific, and says he's so good to her. Yeah, whenever he's not cheating on her, or trying to, he is. She's got a selective memory. He says he has 2 tickets to his stage show for tonight. It's weird to see him call her doll unironically without being a stereotypical mobster portrayed as a bad guy. And she's appreciating it instead of finding it sexist to be compared to a Barbie doll. Maybe that's just the normal slang of the 70s. Sabrina asks in excitement who would watch Sunshine, and Harvey recklessly tells her to let Hilda watch him. She at least says she hates to leave him so soon. I'm guessing Hilda will hate the dog. Oh, she does admit he's kinda cute. But that won't last because that changed the status quo. Well, with how short every story is, I'd rather every panel be dedicated to plot progression. And Sabrina interacting with a dog like anyone else would just waste panels. She could just pet it and the plot could progress while that's happening, but that's what Salem's for. The dog howls for no reason and it's assumed he's lonely. Hilda zaps up a companion dog and he's still howling. Zelda wonders if Sunshine wants something to eat, and she zaps up a bowl of dog food, as I wonder why a bunch of witches can't just say a spell or drink a potion that would make them able to understand dogs. The dog keeps howling. Isn't it because he misses Sabrina or Harvey? Why doesn't Hilda just cast a spell to make the dog unable to make noise? I guess that'd freak it out even more and cause it to make noise another way. But that's why you show that in the story to rule the obvious solution out. Putting the dog outside doesn't stop the non-stop howling either. I take it the writer isn't a dog person. Dogs do get whiny, but not constantly for hours. I wonder if the dog has abandonment issues. I mean, it had to have been separated from its mother. Why doesn't she just cast a spell so that the dog won't want to howl anymore? Zelda says that she noticed that when Hilda picked up the dog, he stopped howling. Why didn't any of them cast a spell to make the dog not want to howl anymore? Is that impossible? Even if they can't visualize it because you can't imagine an absence of something, and it just be stuck in the other pose you imagined in, isn't that what potions are supposed to be for? Hilda says she can't just hold a dog all the time. And when she zaps up a dog bed, it howls in there too. This is the most lazy excuse to get rid of a dog from a series ever. But at least it's family friendly and not as gross as the dog having no toilet training. I figured the other excuse for the dog leaving would be that Salem would hate it. But Salem doesn't show up. Hilda tells Zelda to hold him for a while, and Hilda scratches herself and says she'll need a flea collar. Wait, that's the end of the story? It ended in the middle. It's safe to assume they gave up the dog because of his howling, and at least Hilda didn't mistreat it at any point like I was dreading, since she's not above zapping dogs. But stories should have proper endings. This is basic shit. I guess they thought it was a proper ending for a comedy story. The first story is about the revelation that Salem can in fact use magic, and he uses it against Della for nagging Sabrina, which doesn't make Della's presence worth it. And more importantly, Sabrina stops some bank robbers by scaring them with her powers. But the story immediately undermines the satisfaction by having Della complain about it. The second story is about Sabrina causing a bunch of trouble at the football stadium, somehow by accident. It would have made sense if it was Hilda or Della instead. She would have known when to stop. At least it had one funny moment. I guess you could make any downer ending a lot better by assuming that Sabrina reversed time so that all the awful events never happened. And they just don't show it because they don't think that would be funny enough for an ending. The third story is about Hilda telling Harvey to attack her so that she can practice karate, because I guess after all the time she's been alive, she really wants to do something new. And he effortlessly triumphs over her. Naturally, since he started with a cheap, dirty attack I was shocked by. But then Hilda uses magic to attack him because she lost her temper and has more confidence in her ability to do that. And the fourth story is about Harvey getting Sabrina a dog, and Hilda hates how it does nothing but howl when she's gone. And instead of just using magic to solve the problem right away, she does everything but that. And it doesn't show us the dog being sent away at the end for some reason. The story didn't even have Salem in it to react to the dog. Where is he in all the stories that forget about him? I guess sleeping in the laundry room.